Hello. In this segment, I'll talk a little bit about my mother. Her name is Clara Martinez. She's the second to the youngest of 8, I believe. So she and I share that second to the youngest thing. And her parents, Donaciano and Leonarda, they had a little place in Trujillo, New Mexico. That's where my mother was born, around 1925. And there's a lot of stories about my mother. Some that she has told me. I remember her telling me about her brother drowning. They didn't have reservoirs out there in eastern New Mexico, but each little farmer would kind of build his own pond so that when it would rain and water would run off, they'd kind of dam off an area. And so there was one on the ranch of my grandpa, and there was a little culvert. They could let water out of the pond. And somehow the boys, her brothers, were swimming in the pond or playing in the pond, and he kind of got sucked into that and drowned. So I think she might have been around 10 when this happened, maybe 7 or so. She was pretty young when this happened. And then when her own son drowned, she had a fear of water. I think I've mentioned this before, and she didn't want us around water very much. She grew up walking to school. It was about a mile, and she went to 6 years of school at the little grade school there. It was right across the street from the church in Trujillo. And it's pretty windy out there, so I imagine winters are pretty miserable. I remember her telling stories about her dad taking a wagon to a city somewhere else to get supplies, and it would take a day or day and a half to get there, and the same to get back. And she mentions that she went on that trip with him once or twice, and she doesn't say too much about it. Other than that, they slept in the wagon, and she remembers going, a horse-drawn wagon. They grew beans on their property and corn. They had kind of a well or cistern close to their house, so whenever they wanted water, they have to go pump it. And I remember her telling me about her mom. Whenever she washed her hair, she washed it in rainwater. So they would collect the rainwater off their buildings, their 2 houses, and maybe some other buildings, sheds or chicken coop or something. But her mom would collect the rainwater, and she would wash her hair in rainwater. And my mom always talked about how beautiful her mom's hair was from doing that. I think I've told the story about her brother setting up the rattlesnake in front of the guest house. She hated snakes like nobody's business. You couldn't even play with a toy snake in her house growing up. She really hated them. There's a funny story. Jake and I had gone up to West Mountain 4-wheeling and stuff, and we had caught some horned toads and put them in a shoebox, and so we brought them back, and he was going to try to surprise her or scare her. And so he brought this box in, and he's like, "Grandma, Grandma." And she's like, "It better not be a snake." And he assured her that it wasn't. So he opens up this box, expecting her to just shriek with fright. To his surprise, she put her hand right in there and grabbed a horned toad and put it right up to her cheek. Turns out that she had grown up around horned-toed lizards, and so she loved how soft their tummies were from scraping along the ground. She was a hard worker, my mom. I don't know what skills she learned from her mom besides, just kind of like the normal wash in a bucket type thing and clean things that way. Picking beans and cotton, I don't know. She does tell a story when she first got married about her mother-in-law, my dad's mom, Jesusita, telling her to do the sheets, wash the sheets, and then when Jesusita came back from wherever she was, they weren't clean enough. And so she made my mom do it again. And my mom really admired her mother-in-law and says that she learned how to be a mother-in-law from her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law was really strict that way, but she wanted it done right.